going to start by planting up an alpine trough.
Yeah.
So we've chosen a very strong frost resistant trough.
Yeah.
High glazed, high temperature, which is definitely frost proof.
Okay.
The next thing we need is a nice compost. So this is the compost we're going to use. We've got terracotta clinker over the holes, just to allow the water underneath, and we're going to top it up. And we're going to put some grit in first. This is just a fine chip grit, but any horticultural grit will be fine. Mix that in a bit, just quickly, just to keep it open. Helps a little bit with drainage. So I'm not going to fill it right to the top, because obviously each plant has a proportion of compost around it. They'll probably be removing some compost at one stage. So the first thing I'm looking for is a focal plant. So I'm going to choose something which is really not a flower, but will give a nice effect with silver leaf. And this is Salix lanata. I'll take the moss off.
Now, Salix lanata can become quite a sizable dwarf shrub, but just like you would with a bonsai, you can trim it back and keep it to the shape that you want it.
Keep it pruned.
And keep it trimmed and prune it to the shape you want it. But we also grow a little Salix called arbuscula, which doesn't grow quite as tall, but again, to keep it in check, you would have to prune it. You may choose to use an even dwarfer Salix, one that we grow but we never have many of, called Hylomatica, which is a truly dwarf Salix. But to give, as Carl said, to give the height a focal point, we've chosen just for this video the Salix lanata.
So I'm going to pick a selection of plants which are not going to be invasive, so allow each of them to have perform their show.
This is Veronica prostrata blue mirror,
which will tumble over the side of the trough. I'm going to put it to one side, close to the edge. Just move the compost in, add a little bit more there, just now. Just lightly firm it down, it doesn't need a lot. This is Gentiana verna.
This is a true alpine, but also, you know, we class it as one of our native plants.
It's a native to Scotland.
Yeah.
Okay. This oxalis has been flowering
For about the last 2 to 3 weeks, hasn't it?
at least 3 weeks, yeah. This is Dodecathian comet, which again is going to flower at about 10 to 12 inches or 30 centimeters. I'm not going to have it too close to the willow because it needs room to spread, obviously. These will do well in full sun. I think it's not going to be easy to mix shade lovers with full sun.
Yeah.
If you did have a lot of primulas and things which like shade, the Dodecathian does like shade, but it'll be fine in the sun. Although the leaves will wilt a little bit if it.
So it sort of tells you when it needs a drink, doesn't it?
Right.
Yeah. And this really is a little dwarf epimedium. And the nice thing about epimedium white heart, you've got the lovely foliage, but for me, it does really well because the flowers stand above the foliage and they're not hidden, so you're getting flowers and foliage at the same time.
This one might need, after it's finished flowering, it might need pruning back a little bit so that it doesn't overcome some of the plants around it. And it might do with the verna because that's quite slow growing. So although that's nice at the moment, when it's finished flowering, just prune it back. This one won't need pruning. This is a Lewisia. It looks like a Tweedy eye, but in fact it's a dwarf one.
Tutti frutti.
Yeah, Tutti Fruttis it's called. It's a mixture of all sorts of colours. Pastels usually. There are some bright pinks, but got a splash of water. Unfortunately, there must have been water in that flower because it's not. It'll wash off. It's a bit pity
Well,
that.
if you do get, you know, you can always use a fine mister and just. But once we get a splash of rain, it'll.
Yeah, a couple of 3 days time it'll look quite natural.
Now, are you going to cover the top with grit, Carl, or are
I
you
can.
going to?
I can. I don't think I like the colour of the compost, but if you wanted to, you could cover it with a chip grit. I'll just show it again.
Yeah, we don't necessarily use grit or gravel on the top of our pots or on our troughs, but if you want to use it, then
it will help to conserve the moisture in the trough, stop it evaporating quite so quickly, and it also stops what's called water splash. So if it rains heavily, it prevents the compost from getting up into the flowers. But I think I like it the way it is.
And once you've planted, if you know, and you've got the plants exactly where you want them, then you want to give it a water with a fine hose, don't you, with a fine rose.
That's right. Now, if you're going to feed, if you don't, it's got what's called a controlled release fertilizer in the compost. But if you just wanted to use an ordinary compost, just feed it with tomato fertilizer once a month through the summer, just at the normal dilution rate, and they'll be absolutely happy with that. Okay.